Good morning. Welcome to this wonderful masterclass, this webinar about marketing. So let me grab my phone here. Just want to make sure that everything looks good. We're live. If you are joining us live here, go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know that audio is coming through all right for you. Let me know that the video is coming through. So just leave me a quick comment and let me know. That will help me make sure that we are actually live, that you can hear me, that you can see me, and everything is working a-okay. So let me see your comments. Let me know that you can hear me and see me. That would help me a lot. So I'm coming to you live today from the world headquarters of Ugly Mug Marketing. Yesterday morning, was in a one-on-one meeting with one of our team members, and the room that we were sitting in back in a new section of the office, they saw a truck for a local air conditioning and heating company outside the window. You can see it outside the window. And they said, "Are they here for us?" And I said, no, they're working behind here. But I noticed that the room we were sitting in was getting a bit warm. And so as I was in there doing one-on-ones throughout the morning, the room kept getting warmer and warmer. And sure enough, our AC went out in the back room yesterday. So fortunately, they were literally working at our neighbors right behind us. So they came over when they were finished there. They checked our unit, but got a call this morning, and they said that the part that they need to replace is on back order. They don't have it in stock. So they're trying to find this part. So normally I would be coming live or going live from another part of our office, a newer part of our office, but here I am. My desk is actually right over here. You can't see it. I'm stealing Mara's desk, kicked her out, and Mallory, I kicked her out as well. So I took over, I confiscated the office today. And we call this the lights room. You can see the lights up above. So we have like patio lights in this room. This is what we call the lights room. The room over here on this side near Waldo, which you can see right here, that's what we call the original room. At one point in that room, we had 7 people working in a little small room, about 700 square feet. Today, we have about right at 4,000 square feet of office space. We have 5 different sections. We have the main entrance, we have the lights room, the original room, we have a conference room, and then we have 2 brand new workspaces that don't have air conditioning right now. And it is 86 degrees outside, going to be 100 today, give or take. So let me know in the comments, let me know that you can hear me, that you can see me, that you are here. Just curious, for those who are here, where are you joining from? Where are you tuning in from? I know that often we have people from right here in central Louisiana, but we often have people who join us from around the country, from different states around the country. So let me know where you are joining us from today. Today, we're going to talk about marketing. We're going to spend the next 45 minutes or so doing a deep dive into marketing. And the point or the goal for this session today is simply this. I want you, by the time we end our time together today, to have a very clear framework, a very clear picture of what good marketing should look like for you, what it should look like for your organization. I don't know about you, but so many people out there today, they are frustrated by their marketing. They're frustrated by the fact that there are a million different platforms that you should be on these platforms talking about your business, promoting your product or services. I don't know if that's you. I don't know if you can relate to that, but it's not a fun feeling when you don't know where you should and or could be putting your marketing messages. So the goal for today is simply this. The goal is that we want to provide you a framework. I want to give you this framework that we've used for about 7 or 8 years. Not only do we use it for ourselves at Ugly Mug Marketing, but we use this framework for our clients. And we've had great success with this framework. So that's what I want to share with you today. I want to give you this framework. I want to give you the tools to help you decide when and where you need to actually market your product or services, what platforms you need to use, what messaging you need to use at each different stage in that process. So that's the goal for today. Um, a lot of what we're going to talk about is based on this book, Full Circle Marketing. Yes, this is a shameless plug for the book. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it at any major book place. You can get a copy of this book. So in the book, it goes into a lot more detail, a lot more description about what we're going to cover today at a very high level, very surface level today. So again, thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for making a commitment of your time to be here. And before we dive in, I just want to share this. We do a lot of webinars, we do a lot of free workshops. And here's what we've learned over the years of doing these events. We've discovered that there are actually 3 different types of people who show up for these events. The first person who shows up is what we would call a spectator. So a spectator is someone who shows up, they're watching, they're observing, but that's it. They're not participating, they're not engaging, they're just kind of observing, seeing what's going on, if you will. The next type of person that we've discovered shows up for these events are what we'd call participants. So these are people who are actively engaged. They're the ones of you who've commented. It's you who are participating in this event. That is the next type of person. And then the final type of person that we've observed would be what we would call investors. So an investor is someone who understands that this 45 minutes of their life is 45 minutes that they're never gonna get back, right? This 45 minutes that if you stay through the end of this, which I promise you, if you stay to the end of this, I'm gonna give you some stuff that will make a difference in your marketing. If you stay to the end of this, you know that you're investing your time being here. And as an investor of your time, what is the goal of any investor? The goal of any investment, or the goal for any investor, is to get a positive return, right? You don't want to spend your 45 minutes of this time and have nothing to show for it. So I'm going to challenge you to be an investor, to engage in the conversation that's taking place today. I want you to turn off distractions. I want you to close other tabs. I want you to put away your phone for 45 minutes. And here's my promise to you. If you make that commitment, if you choose to invest this 45 minutes, instead of just showing up and being a spectator, or instead of just showing up and being a participant, right? Think of this as an investment of your time, an investment into your future and into the future results that you can get from your marketing. I promise you will see a positive ROI, and you will put an end to the frustration around marketing that doesn't work. So the question we should start with is, why isn't your marketing working? What is it that is preventing your marketing from being effective, from producing a positive ROI? The number one culprit, I believe, is that you don't and you haven't clearly defined the results that you want and or need from your marketing. So in other words, you don't have a clear system, you don't have clear metrics around the results that you want and you expect from your marketing. Now, most people approach marketing, they think of it as, I've got to do all of these things, and the goal of doing all these things should be more sales, more revenue, or more profit for the business. And unfortunately, that doesn't often work out that way, right? We don't often see the benefits of all the effort, all the time, all the energy that we pour into this thing we call marketing. So that is the challenge. So what I'm going to give you today is a framework that's going to help you identify what are the core areas that you need to hold accountable for your marketing. And within those 4 areas, when you dive into those, it's going to help you shape and sculpt exactly what to say, when to say it, how to say it, and then how to measure the results that you get from each of those. Is that making sense? So I'm just curious, what type of organization do you have? What type of business? What is it that you're marketing? Let me know what it is that you're marketing, because I can use that and I can actually talk through some real world scenarios for you. So let's go ahead and dive in. If you've got a pen and paper, which you should, grab pen and paper, something to write with. We're going to dive into what we call the natural progression. And we call this the natural progression because this is the way that all human beings, I'm assuming you sell to human beings, this is the way that they make purchasing decisions. It's based on human psychology. It's based on this natural process, this natural progression of events, of emotions, and of psychological triggers that take place anytime someone makes a purchasing decision. So we call this the natural progression. So what you're going to do is you're going to draw a circle up here at the top. You're going to draw a circle over on this side, circle down at the bottom, and a circle over here. And again, I apologize. Art is not my thing, so my circles are not the best. They're not terrible, actually. No, I give myself a B for these based on my skill level. So draw these out, these circles. This right here will become your framework for your marketing. This right here will become the thing that makes all of your marketing efforts more effective. It makes them produce a higher ROI for you. So draw the circle out. It's going to be important. This is going to be the framework that we're going to base everything off of today. So up here at the top, we have out there in the world people who we would call strangers. So strangers are different than prospects. We intentionally use the word strangers because a stranger is someone who doesn't know about your product or service, but you believe, based on what you know about your product or service, that this group of people who doesn't know about you, they would benefit. They would receive value from your product or service. In other words, if they were to spend their money, if they were to give you money for your product or service, you believe that the money they give you would be of less value to them than the results, than the benefits that they would get from your product or service. So again, these are anybody out there in the world who don't know about you, but would receive value from your product or service. So step one for you is getting clear about who these people are. Who these people are. You've probably heard the analogy before when it comes to marketing that some people use a shotgun approach to marketing. So they broadcast their message out to the entire world and they hope that it hits the right people and it sticks with the right people. And that would be if we change this word to prospects and we just broadcast our message out to the world and we hope it hits the right people, the people who would receive value. That's what we hope. So when we have strangers and when we clearly identified who the strangers are, we are now able to better target these people. So let's think about this for a second. Let's think about this for 1 second. Let's say that you and I, we decide we're going to go into the cattle business. We're going to open a cattle ranch and we are going to raise grass-fed cattle. No growth hormones, no all the bad things that they may put in cattle that are mass produced. And so we're going to raise grass-fed beef and we're going to sell it. So my question for you is, would it make sense for us to put our marketing messages in front of a group of vegetarians? Or would it make sense for us to put our message in front of a group of vegans? No, we would never do that because we know that those people would never receive value from what it is that we sell. And yet, as marketers, if we're honest with ourselves, this is exactly what we end up doing. We end up putting our messages out there in front of the wrong audiences, and then we turn around and complain that our messages don't work. And this is the number one culprit. We have not become crystal clear about the who. Who is it that we're communicating to? Because until we can clearly articulate the who, very specifically, who are we communicating to? We will never be able to speak effectively to this group of people. So strangers is where we're going to start the journey, but that's not where we're going to end the journey. So once we have identified the strangers, our goal is not to keep them as strangers, but our goal is to convert those people into friends. That is the goal. So the first step in our marketing system is to get strangers who we've clearly identified, to get them to move from strangers to friends. Now, there are two core elements that are required for people to make this transition. Let me switch colors here just so we can end up with a very colorful chart. So to get people to make this transition from strangers to friends, they have to I'm gonna change again just because I feel like changing colors. They have to know about us, right? And they have to like us. Know and like. Again, go back to our example. So we're in the cattle business. We're never going to convince vegans or vegetarians to like what it is that we do, right? In the cattle business. So we're never going to convince them. So we shouldn't waste our time, our energy, our effort convincing those people or attempting to convince those people. And if we're not careful, that's exactly what we end up doing with our marketing lessons, our marketing messages, right? Okay, so now we've moved people by getting them to know about us, getting them to like us, into friends. What is next? So the very next step, now that I've changed all these colors, I've got to keep track of what goes where. I'm working overtime here for you, just so you know. I'm switching all these colors out just for you. We get people from friends into customers. That is the goal. This is where what? Money changes hands. Money changes hands when we get people to move from friends into customers. This is the path right here. Now, there's one core, very important ingredient that we must have. No one that's a friend of ours is going to pull out their wallet and give us money if we don't have this one ingredient. This one ingredient is this magic word called trust. Trust. They must trust in our company. They must trust in our organization. They must trust that our product or service is going to deliver value to them. Because if their dollar is worth more than the value they're going to receive from our product or service, they're never going to pull out their dollar and hand it to us. So we have to ensure that they trust that the dollar they part with when they hand us their money, that dollar is going to be less valuable to them than the benefit that they're going to receive from the product and service that we're selling. So when we look at marketing and when we talk about marketing, most people aren't sure exactly what marketing is. Most people confuse marketing and advertising. They use those two words interchangeably, right? They think they're one and the same. The reality is they're not. Advertising is merely a piece or a portion or component of marketing. So we define marketing as your ability to attract and keep a customer. Attract and keep a customer. So what's interesting, when we look at this chart, everything on this side is about attracting, right? Everything we're doing over here is about attracting new people, attracting people to pull out their wallet and hand us money. And this is advertising. This is the advertising portion. Now, here's what I want you to think about when it comes to your marketing. Right now, most people approach marketing this way. I go out to Facebook, if that's the platform I'm choosing to be on. I go out to Facebook, I do a post about my product or service. And I expect that one post, that one campaign to magically take people from here all the way down to here. And the reality is that most of us, I'm often guilty of this, is we're too demanding of one particular campaign. And so I want you to let that sink in for a second. Think back to the campaigns, to the marketing pieces that you've done. Have you had unrealistic expectations of those campaigns? Did you set yourself up for failure based on your expectations? In other words, your expectations were that you were going to do this thing, this marketing thing, and it was going to magically move people all the way down here to pull out their wallet and hand you money. What I want you to think through is, when it comes to properly attracting people based on psychology, we know they have to go through these things. They have to know about us, super obvious. They have to like us. Again, you're not going to buy a product or service. You're not going to do business with a company that you don't like. Next, trust. Again, how many times would you say you've pulled out your wallet or your card and you've handed people money, you've swiped your card for something that you didn't believe was actually going to do what they said it was going to do? right? Never. We don't do that because we're smart. We're not going to pull out our wallet. We're not going to hand our credit card to somebody if we don't trust that the thing we're buying is going to be of value to us. And so when it comes to thinking through your marketing campaigns, and this is so, so important, when it comes to actually thinking through your campaigns, on the attracting side, you need one campaign up here. This campaign's entire goal is to get people to know and to like you, to know and to like you. That is it. So the metrics that you use here, the metrics that you use to convert people from strangers to friends, we are looking for reach. We're looking for impressions. We're looking for maybe some engagement here, right? Because what we're after is we are merely after getting people to know and like. So the know and like by default have different expectations. We have different reality if we know that that's all we're after. It's not about pulling out the money. It's not about handing us their credit card or placing the order. It's solely about knowing and liking. So if that's true, and we're okay accepting that fact that our goal is just to move people from here to here, it changes our expectations. And when we change our expectations, we change the way we measure things. And when we change the way we measure this campaign, what does it do? When we change the way we measure this, number one, it gives us some metrics that are meaningful. It's a very important phrase right there. In your marketing, you have to ensure that your metrics are meaningful. And what's meaningful is going to vary based on where you are in this natural progression. And again, we have some more to do over here, but that's going to determine what is meaningful based on the stage that you're in. Making sense? All right, let's continue on. So down here, we're going to have a campaign. And the goal of this campaign number 2, the sole goal of this campaign is to build trust. What do we need to build trust in? We need to build trust in our company. We need to build trust in our organization. We need to build trust in the fact that our product, our service is going to do what you and I say our product or service is going to do. Now, an interesting thing about trust is this, that generally speaking, there are a few anomalies, but generally speaking, that the higher ticket item you sell, the higher ticket service you provide, the more of this that is required. Let me say that one more time. So the higher the ticket price of the product or service you sell, the more trust is required. So depending on what you sell, you actually may need a few different campaigns here that build trust. So you may need a campaign that builds trust in your company or your organization. You may need a separate campaign that builds trust in the benefits of your product or service, right? So campaign 2 is about trust. Now, again, what is meaningful when it comes to this campaign? How do we measure based on what's meaningful? So meaningful down here could possibly be, at this point, we're dialoguing with people, right? We're having conversations with people. So maybe this is based on the number of comments, or maybe this is based on the number of people who opt in for our email list, or the number of people who sign up for our events, or whatever that may be. You see, at this point right here, this is a good stage to do lead capture. So once people know about you, they begin to like you, it takes time to build trust. So if you can capture a lead, in other words, capture their name, capture their email address, capture their information, if you can capture their info here, it makes it easier to build trust over time. So whenever you're thinking through your marketing, think through number 1, campaign. What do I need to do to get people to know about me and to like me? And again, the people is a very defined audience that you've defined, right? Who are your ideal customers? Who are those out there who don't know about you, but would receive tremendous benefit, tremendous value from your product or service? Who are those people? How do you get them to know about you, to like you? And then down here, if we can capture that information, so we run an ad that gets them to know about us, and we say, hey, would you like more information? Download our ebook on this thing. Give us your name and email address. Or we've got exclusive offers for people who are on our mailing list. Give us your name or email. There's lots of ways you can capture leads here. So if you have questions on that, just let me know. Leave a comment and let me know on some ideas maybe around lead capture. Down here around trust, one of the things that you have to remember is that people would rather trust strangers they've never met than to trust you or I as business owners or as marketers. People would rather trust strangers they've never met than to trust you or I as business owners or marketers. So think about it. You go to Amazon, and let's say you're going to order a tube of toothpaste. What are you going to do? You're going to scroll down to the bottom and you're going to read the reviews. Right? You're going to trust all of these people who have commented about this tube of toothpaste, all these people you've never met, who are complete strangers, who, for all you and I know, could all be crazy. These could be just absolute crazy people, but we're going to trust them far more than we're going to trust the company who made that tube of toothpaste. The same applies to your organization and to mine. We come at our organization, we pitch our organization, we pitch our products, we pitch our services through rose-colored lenses, right? They know that we're biased. They know that we have a vested interest in persuading them and convincing them. So they're going to be skeptical of what you or I say. So it's so important when we're looking at building trust. It's so important that we rely on testimonials, that we rely on referrals from other people whenever we're building trust. All right. Still with me? Let's move into the keeping side. So earlier we said that marketing is about your ability to attract and to keep. Now, a key distinction around keeping is this. Keeping is not merely for the sake of keeping. The goal of keeping is actually to convert. We want to take ordinary customers and we want to convert them into what we would call, make sure I got the right color here, evangelist. So we want to turn ordinary customers into evangelists. We want them to become evangelists for our products, for our services, for our business, for whatever it is that we do. And when they become evangelists, what happens? They go tell their friends, they go tell their family members. They take their belief, their trust, and they impart that to their friends and family. And this is a key distinction. I can't stress this enough. A key distinction between mere advertising and marketing. So marketing is about being intentional, about converting your customers into evangelists. So there's a word here that's very important when it comes to converting them, and that is wow. We cannot merely meet expectations and expect to get evangelists. We have to clearly exceed expectations. And when we do that, we have now a chance to convert them into evangelists for our products or services. Think about it. Every single person, just about in the world, I think there's 6.4 billion people in the world with a little device like this, smartphone. 6-point-something billion people out of, I'm making up the numbers here, around 8 billion people on the planet. So think about that. 6 billion people now have the power with this one device to talk about your business, your product, your service to who? To the entire world, right? They can talk to all their friends on Facebook. They can talk to all their friends on Instagram, their followers, all through this one device. And so my question, when I sit down with business owners, with entrepreneurs, regardless of the size of the company, the question becomes, what are you doing to intentionally turn customers into evangelists for your product or service. Think about it. With this one little device that almost every single person you and I probably know, they have the ability to reach more people in just a few minutes than newspapers, news channels, and all of those things combined used to be able to reach, all with this one little device. What are you doing about that? How are you being intentional about turning them into evangelists? Now, the other thing, once we turn them into evangelists, once we know that we've exceeded their expectations, we have to give them tools or resources to enable them, to help them share with their friends or family. How many of you have actually ordered something online, you've completed the checkout process, and on the thank you page, it says, thank you so much for your order. Share with your friends and family. Click here and share with your friends and family, and we will give you X% off your next order. How many of you have done that? How many of you have seen that before, right? It's a very common thing now in the e-commerce space. They make it simple, they make it easy, they make it convenient for people to share. But what about you and I? What if we're not e-commerce? What if we're not, people aren't checking out online? What are the things that you and I can do that make it easy for other people to share, other people to talk about our company, our business, our product, our services? There's lots of things we can do, but if all of our time and attention is spent over here, complaining about Facebook not working, complaining about Instagram not working, complaining that now we may have to get on TikTok or whatever the newest platform is, right? That all the cool kids are on. If all of our efforts and attention and money is going over here, we will never invest the time and attention we need on this side of the equation. And so a question for you is this: what percent of your marketing budget is going to the attracting side? And what percent of your marketing budget is going to the keeping side? I don't know what the percents look like for you, but here's what I can say with almost 100% certainty, that whatever those percentages look like, you need to increase the amount of money you spend over here and the amount of time and attention you spend in converting those people to become evangelists for your company, for your product, for your service. Making sense? Is this all kind of sinking in? I know it's a lot of information. This is the framework that we go through, that we work through with clients, and we build out campaigns around all of these things, because at the end of the day, we're dealing with human beings who are highly emotional creatures. We're wired certain ways in our brains. We make decisions certain ways, right? And yet, as entrepreneurs, as marketers, often we operate in ways that are in violation to human nature. And then, shamefully, we complain about those things. We complain that our marketing isn't working. We complain that we're not getting results, when the entire time we've just simply been violating some very basic human psychology, some very basic structure in terms of the way people flow through making purchasing decisions. I want to share with you a couple of things over here that I think are going to be very important to you. The first question I want you to think about would be this: how do you know that your company, your products, your services are actually exceeding expectations? How do you know that your product, your service, your company is actually exceeding expectations? How do you know that? What we've discovered, what we found, is that most entrepreneurs, most marketers are very jaded in a positive way. They view their products, their services, they view what they do as a company in such a way that they don't understand if they are actually exceeding, delivering remarkable wow experiences through their products and services. So Bain & Company is a national, they're probably global actually, but a national business consulting firm. And they went out and they surveyed 4,000 US-based small businesses. And they went to them and they went to the owners and they said, look, there are 5 levels of customer service. Where do you rank your company? Which level of service do you provide? So the levels were phenomenal, great, good, average, or poor. Where do you rank yourself? And 80% of the entrepreneurs that they surveyed said, we are top level. We deliver phenomenal service with our product or service when we sell it. We're the top. So 80% said that. Well, Bain & Company, they're a smart firm, and they started scratching their heads and they said, that just doesn't seem right. There's no way that 80% of these 4,000 small businesses are delivering phenomenal service. So they went back to the small businesses and they said, hey, would you mind if we actually go out and survey your actual customers, the people who are giving you money, the people who are buying your products and services? And so they went back out to the customers of these companies and they surveyed them. And they said, here are the 5 levels of service. How do you rank these companies? How do you rank the company that you did business with? And of all those customers they surveyed, only 8% said that the companies provided phenomenal service. So over here on this side, we've got the entrepreneurs who say, 80% of them say we're delivering phenomenal service. But when you talk to the customers over here, they're saying, no, only 8% of us agree that they're providing phenomenal service. So telling you that to tell you this, that you and I, we are jaded in the positive way, right? We have rose-colored lenses. We believe we're delivering remarkable, phenomenal, amazing service. But what we believe doesn't matter. What matters is what our customer believes. What matters is how they feel about the interaction. So one of the things that we love to have people do to discover where you really are is what we call the expectation or experience litmus test. So how do you know where and how you're delivering your service? So I'm not going to draw this entire thing out. I'm just going to do a super quick version to give you the idea. Well, I didn't do too good at folding that, so I apologize. Take a sheet of paper out, and what you're going to do is you're going to draw 3 lines down the page. And over here, you're going to write down all of the different points of interaction that someone would have going through the process of purchasing your product or service. So that could be picking up the phone and letting the phone ring. That could be speaking to someone in your office whenever they call. That could be the post-call follow-up. That could be the actual order form that they fill out or that you send them, et cetera, et cetera. Go down the list all those things out. Then over here, what you're going to do is you're going to write down, what does a reasonable customer have the right to expect at each of these points? So when they pick up the phone and call, what does a reasonable person have the right to expect? Well, they expect us to answer the phone in 3 rings. So we write down 3 rings. Now we ask ourselves, what would it take to actually exceed expectations? What would it take for us to exceed that 3-ring expectation? And so we write down, if we answer in 2 rings or less, we're exceeding expectations. And then we come over here to this column and we say, what does it actually look like if we don't hit expectations? In other words, if we don't even get to the point of meeting expectations, what does that actually look like? And so we write down, if the phone rings more than 4 times, we have now not met base level expectations. So you simply go through and you write down for each point of interaction the answers to those questions, to those expectations. And if you do this honestly and thoughtfully, what you will now have is a single sheet of paper that you could hand to anyone in your organization. And you could say, look, the next time someone begins this process of inquiring about our product or service, I want you to check off or highlight where we fell. Did we not meet expectations? Did we hit expectations, or did we exceed expectations? So this one sheet of paper becomes a litmus test for you. And that litmus test, allow it to speak some truth to you, right? Don't gloss over when you don't hit expectations. Let those instances sink in? Was it an anomaly that it took 5 times for you to answer the phone that time? Or is that a pattern that maybe you're just not aware of? Or down here, maybe someone expects to receive the product within a week, but because you've got the litmus test, you now discovered that on average it's taking nearly 2 weeks to receive your product in the mail. So this becomes a very important tool, because when we go back over here, we will never create evangelists if we're not wowing them, if we're not exceeding their expectations. Another important note when it comes to this portion is, after someone purchases our product or service, they expect a story change. It doesn't matter what you sell. It doesn't matter how inexpensive. It doesn't matter if it's a free service that you give away. Maybe you're a nonprofit organization, you give that away. But after they become a customer, after they've engaged with you, whether that's pull out the money, hand you money, or they signed up for your thing to volunteer or to be a part of your nonprofit, whatever it is, they expect a story change. They believe, because of all of this, that their life is somehow going to be different as a result of your product, as a result of your service. Let me give you an example. So I started running a few years ago, and I'd never run before. And what I didn't realize is that when you run and you run a decent amount, it's very common for you to get like leg cramps, Charlie horses. You'll get them in your feet, you'll get them in your legs, your calves, and they can be quite painful. And so there's all kinds of drinks out there that help you replace electrolytes that you lost, replace nutrients and minerals that you lose during the running process. Particularly, now it is extremely hot in the morning. So, if you're running any decent distance, say that 3 times fast, decent distance, you're going to lose a lot of those minerals, a lot of those nutrients. And so this company, they produce these little packs that are for runners. It's called Limit LMNT, and they're full of sodium. So they've got a lot of salt in them, which you lose a lot when you sweat, and so it replenishes that. It puts that back in your body. And so for me, the story change, when we talk about story change, is that before I had their product, I was experiencing leg cramps, right? I would get Charlie horses, especially when it's really hot outside. And so if there's not a story change, in other words, if I buy their product because of this belief that their product's gonna make my story, my life different, if it doesn't change my story, am I gonna talk to you about this brand? Am I gonna share with you about this brand? No. And no one's gonna do that for your product or service either. So you've got to be sure that you're exceeding those expectations, which we just talked about, and that you understand the story change that is actually taking place. You understand how their lives are different as a result of doing business, as a result of pulling out that wallet and handing you money. So again, the other campaign that you're going to need over here, this is going to be your third campaign, is you're going to want a campaign around, number one, ensuring that you've exceeded their expectations. So how do you know? Do you follow up with your customers? Do you have a campaign that follows up with them to ensure that you are indeed exceeding their expectations? And the second part of this is helping them to understand, helping them, giving them tools and resources that help them understand the story change that they can and should be experiencing. How many of you have ever bought a product or service that you're ashamed to admit, but you didn't actually use? You didn't actually use the thing you bought, right? Go look in your attic, maybe go look in the back of a closet, or go look in a storage building somewhere. And there's probably a lot of things that you and I bought that we had good intentions of using. Or maybe another good one I just thought about this would be like in the back of a kitchen cabinet somewhere, stuff in the very back, some kitchen gizmo or gadget that we thought was going to make our life so much simpler, that's stuffed away back there. But we bought this thing and there was no story change. Now, that could be our fault, right? We didn't use it. We didn't know how to fully integrate it into our lives. We didn't understand how to get the most value from it. But that's our responsibility as marketers. Do you have campaigns that help illustrate, help show them how to get the most benefit, the most value out of your product or service, that help them realize that story change that they are indeed after? If not, create that campaign. And then the fourth one is, again, the tools and resources. This is the fourth campaign that you have to have. You have to have some tools and resources that make it easy for your evangelists to go share with their friends, their family, and everyone else. So I know this is a ton of information in a super short time, but this framework, trust me, this framework will transform your marketing if you follow it. If you remember that attracting is just one piece of the puzzle, keeping and converting is an important, and I would probably argue that it's more important now than ever, that more of your time, your attention, your effort, your dollars should be spent here. This side of the equation is playing the long game. This side is the short game. And yes, you need to be good at both of them. It's like in golf. The long game is your ability to drive the ball far down the fairway. The short game is up close when you're chipping it onto the green and then you're putting. That's the short game. And all too often, all we get good at is the short game over and over again. So it's taking us a lot more strokes to get the ball all the way down the course because we're not good at driving. We're not good at playing the long game. So you've got to learn to play this long game. You've got to give time. You've got to give attention. You've got to give effort to the long game. And I can tell you this with all sincerity, that when you begin shifting your mindset, when you begin shifting the way you approach marketing to more of the long game, the results that you get from your marketing will be vastly different than the results that you're getting today. And the B part to that is simply by understanding what is meaningful at each section of the natural progression, you can then create very specific metrics for your business to hold your marketing accountable at each step of the process, each stage of the game. Any questions? If you got a question, go ahead and put them in the comment. Again, you can grab a copy of this book, which goes into more detail. As a thank you for being here and for participating, if you send me an email, it's just wayne@uglymugmarketing.com. I will send you a digital copy of this. I will also send you some other resources. I'll send you this outline so that you'll have this. I will send you the litmus test so that you have that as well. I will also send you an exclusive chapter. I guess you could say it was a chapter that got left out of this book, if you will. And it has to do with the one word. If I had to say there's one word that is pure magic when it comes to marketing, this chapter outlines that word. It goes in depth about how to implement this word, not just in your marketing, but in all that you do throughout your business, throughout your organization. One other note, we are having another live webinar tomorrow. So that would be Thursday, the 16th of June at 2 p.m. Central. Tomorrow we'll be going live talking about SEO. How do you actually get Google to pay attention to your website? How do you get ranked in Google? How do you get your website noticed by search engines? Which, if you're able to do, which she's going to show you how to do, that leads to more traffic to your website, which hopefully leads to more conversion. So that's tomorrow, 2 p.m. Central Time, here on our Facebook page. Thanks again for investing your time today. Again, as a thank you for being here, send me an email, wayne@uglymugmarketing.com, and I will send you over all the resources and the digital version of this book. So thanks again. I hope you have a fabulous day.